We're all very proud of the state of Israel. And right now, the state of Israel has a right-wing government, a nationalist government, right? A government that stands against Arab terrorism, for Jewish people living in the Jewish land, and for more heritage and spirituality and Torah as part of our lifestyle. So that's true on the one hand. On the other hand, there's some disappointment as well. One of the main disappointments is that this government has not done enough to take us away from the decisions of the Israeli government in the 90s, which was called the Oslo Accords, the White Plantation Accords, the Hebron Accords, where the land of Israel, parts of the land of Israel, especially the heartland of Judea and Samaria, the heartland of the Holy Land, as I like to call it, were given over to control by this thing called the Palestinian Authority, which was made up of terrorists like Yasser Arafat, who were brought from Tunis in order to now rule the Arab populations, the big populations in Judea and Samaria, and later also in Gaza in the disengagement in 2005. So one of the critiques of this government is that they've not done enough to get rid of the two-state solution, the Oslo Accords, the land giveaway, and to start opening up this land again, and to dismantle the PA and dismantle the UNRWAs of this world, the organizations that create that Palestinian narrative, that create that refugee status, and to return us to our land. And there's been so much junk that has happened, so many deaths, murders, anti-Semitism, jihadism that has been promulgated by the Palestinian Authority, that was created, sadly, with our own hands. Now, the Israeli government is finally beginning to make moves to take away some of the powers of the Palestinian Authority. Certainly not enough, in my opinion. We got to go towards and say it loud and clear that we are stepping away from the Oslo Accords, as the Palestinian Authority itself said in 2009. We have to start doing that as well, and to begin to dismantle this evil mechanism. But here you're going to see my interview on ILTV, where I described some of the steps that have been taken, the small steps, but important steps that have been taken by this government very recently, about a piece of land that the Palestinian Authority was supposed to protect as a heritage site, but has now turned it into a city. And of course, that's where they educate their hate against Israel. So check out my appearance on ILTV, and where I discuss also the issues of safety of Jews in Judea and Samaria, in the heartland, dealing with the fact that there is Palestinian terrorism, quote-unquote Palestinian, right? But when I say that word, I only mean to say those who have now congregated themselves and are calling themselves that, because there is no historic Palestine. That's a lie. There is a historic Judea. What are we doing to protect ourselves in this dangerous situation? So check out my appearance on ILTV. Here we go.
And tensions are heating up in Judea and Samaria after a string of terror incidents. Joining us now in the studio to discuss the situation on this front is Yishai Fleisher, the international spokesman of Hebron. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Lidar. Thanks so much.
So we just had a terror attack today, and there is a feeling in Judea and Samaria that it will ultimately become a third front. I mean, what is your assessment on this? What is your feeling?
Well, you know, since the Oslo Accords, since 1993, we've given away lots of pieces of that land to a different sovereign, the Palestinian Authority. That sovereign turned out to be anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, jihadist, and really pro-terror. And so what we have right now is the fruition of all those years of miseducation, of brainwashing. And indeed, tensions are high because there's a war in Gaza. There might be a war in the north, as you're reporting. And it could be at any time that the Arabs of Judea and Samaria, who call themselves today Palestinians, may take the arms that they've already accrued and turn them against the Jews that live there. We have about 500,000 Jews that live in these parts, and we understand it to be the homeland and the heartland of the Jewish people, and we intend to stay there. So we indeed may have another front there.
You know, and you mentioned the arms. You know, there are many reports that Iranian arms are reaching into Judea and Samaria. Terrorists are receiving more sophisticated weapons. We see signs of that, you know, with these roadside bombs being made. Do you see any indications that there's more terror activity and that the terrorists are perhaps better armed recently?
You know, arms are, they don't need to be sophisticated to be deadly. They could be rock throwing. They could be small arms. Small arms kill. And so do M16s. So we don't need Stinger missiles to have a war over there because there's a civilian population that lives there. And so the terrorists they don't want to make a war, they want to terrorize. And so they can terrorize with simple weapons, and the IDF and the GSS has many times seized, humongous caches of weapons. Most of the time it's pistols, but those things are deadly. And so there's only one way forward, and that is Israel to assert more sovereignty, more control back into the heartland of the Holy Land, and to police that area, and of course to continue to settle that land and to normalize Jewish presence there. The only way we could actually fight this is by asserting our strength and our sovereignty. If we pull back more, the terrorists will be happy that they've gained exactly what they want, which is less Israel, smaller Israel, and they're going to think that they can shrink us even more all the way to the end. We have to assert our right in the heartland.
There have been many promises on that front in terms of improving the security fence in the area to improve really the security for the Jewish residents in the area. Is any progress being made there, do you feel?
Okay, so fences, in our perspective, are not the great panacea. In fact, we're on the wrong side of the fence, right? So it doesn't really help us that much because we're on the inside of Judea and Samaria. So it doesn't help us that much. The only thing that is going to help is continued assertion of sovereignty and clarity. Good news from the government is that the government of Israel just recognized 5 nascent Jewish communities, including Evyatar, Sde Ephraim, Givat Asaf, Cheletz, and Aduraim. These are nascent communities that have been building up, and they've recognized and legalized them. And also, big news out of the Regavim organization, they explained to me how the Israeli government is, for the first time, began to invalidate the Oslo Accords by asserting sovereignty over a piece of land that was in Area B, which was supposed to be a nature reserve. This is right between Gush Etzion and Har Hebron, basically in Judea, in southeast Judea, and the Palestinians, or the Palestinian Authority, that was supposed to keep it as a nature reserve, was indeed building a giant city there instead of the agreements. So finally, the Prime Minister of Israel, the Defense Minister, and Yuli Edelstein from the Defense Committee and Foreign Affairs Committee have now signed a warrant basically telling the IDF that they have to assert sovereignty over this place and to control it and to stop the building of this illegal city on this historic and heritage piece of land. So we see finally some steps from this supposedly right-wing government. We see it finally taking steps to abrogate and invalidate the Oslo Accords, which were already announced as invalid by the Palestinian Authority in 2009.
And I also want to ask you, there's been a lot of controversy over allowing Palestinian workers back into the settlements. Have they started working again? And if so, how is that going?
Okay, I happen to be closely involved with this particular issue, and that is because my wife is one of the co-founders of a women's security forum in Judea called Beyadayim Shalanu, and we've been trying to block the access of PA workers into our towns. Now, these PA workers, Palestinian Authority Arabs, are not allowed into regular Israel, but they are allowed into the communities of Judea and Samaria where they could themselves be terrorists or carry out information gathering as they did in Gaza. We're trying to block that. And we're trying to send a signal. We're in a time of war. And if you're part of the jihadism, if you're pro-Hamas, you're not going to come work in our towns and gather that information. So there is a fight. On the other hand, there's the value of building. And building has slowed down because these Arabs are the main force of building in these towns, ironically, as it may seem. And so there's a fight. But our message to our government is there are alternatives to jihadists. Jihadists don't have to build our country. There could be Druzim, there could be pro-Israel Arabs, there could be Indians and Chinese, and we want you to open up that spigot and to help us get alternative workers who are pro-Israel and certainly not Israel haters and jihadists to help us build our towns.
And, too many settlers have taken the law into their own hands. I mean, this is an issue that we've heard. It hurts Israel internationally, does little to solve the problem of terrorism. What do you think Israel should do about it?
Well, first thing, it's important to understand that is the minority of minorities. Really, it happens very rarely, and Israeli police and Israeli army deal strictly within the confines of the law with people who are vigilantes who take the law into their own hands. That being said, and that's really what I believe, there's another side, which is, listen, this is the Middle East. You can only push a certain amount of people, a population so far. And if somebody's going to push you, that's just part of the reality of this region, is that you're going to push back. And the folks that live in Judea and Samaria, they're the tough Jews, the brave Jews that hold on to our heartland until the state of Israel kind of figures out that this is one of the most important parts of the land of Israel that we have to hold on to. And so I'm not justifying vigilantism, but I understand where it comes from. In the absence of strong police, allowing the PA, which is a jihadist organization, to be in control of large parts, and terror and murder being part of our reality there, yes, there's going to be people who push back.
All right, Yishai Fleisher, thank you so much for your insight today.
Thank you, Lidar.
All right, I hope you enjoyed my appearance on ILTV. And thanks so much for joining me here on Yishai Fleisher TV. And I urge you to subscribe, to write comments. We read those comments. We care about those comments. Other people read those comments. So please discuss it. This issue is important. We got to push back on the PA and its supporters. We got to push back on the Hamas. We got to stop making the distinction between them, because they're the same. They're literally, not literally, but very, very close to being the two sides of the same coin. One has got a face, they've got a suit and tie. They're the PA, and one has got the tails, which is the jihad. Jihad is the tails. The face is the suit and tie liberal version of it. It's time to see through that crap and to start to move forward towards real resolution of the Middle East, which is going to come through a big Israel that is sitting on its land, working together with other countries that want to move forward for peace and prosperity in this region. So do write comments, get it out there, subscribe to the channel, and I'm wishing you blessings, lots of blessings from the heartland, from the good land, from Hashem's land, where his eyes are upon the land from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. God bless you, folks. Stay tuned and shalom.